I'm Zach Kleindienst, and welcome to Coffee with a Civil Conversation. Today, I'm here with Sierra Rosa. Hi, Sierra. How are you?
Hi.
How you doing?
Fine.
You're not nervous, are you?
No, not at all.
See, this is a relaxed thing. That's why I'm wearing the sweater. Makes
Yeah.
me look more casual.
Uh-huh.
I didn't want to dress up in a suit or anything.
I don't think you would have even if you wanted to.
I like wearing suits. But anyway, Coffee with a Civil Conversation is a new show that we're doing here at ECTV. And basically what it is we're trying to change the perception of the news and change the perception of the media to focus more on just having a conversation and just talking about the issues rather than really trying to go deep into researching them. So really, I just want to get people's opinions on different topics that are going on. So Sierra, today what I wanted to talk about is something that I saw basically last weekend, I believe. And I don't know if you saw it or not, but basically what it was the Weather Channel covering the hurricane. And there was a Weather Channel reporter that was down covering this hurricane. And he was clearly having trouble standing. There were winds, and he was really struggling to stay standing. And then in the background, you saw people just walking by. So now what everyone's thinking is he was basically faking it looking like it was worse than it was.
Yeah.
That also takes me back to Brian Williams and that whole controversy and different things like that. So what would be your opinion? Do you think that yellow journalism, which is basically overdoing the news, making things that sound more crazy just to be better entertainment, do you think that that's a positive thing, or do you think that that's made everything more negative, not just in the news, but also in the world itself?
I just think it makes everything more negative because when you do something like that, it just makes you look stupid and therefore makes your news organization, your name as a whole, look really stupid and basically just like you try too hard for a certain reaction that you're not going to get. So it's like, why do this? Why not just be truthful? Because when you start a trend like that where you're making everything bigger than it is or making yourself feel like you need to act a certain way in a certain situation, just makes your whole segment seem forced and makes you seem like you don't really care about being genuine or telling the truth or being honest, because like every time you see a news segment like that, you expect honesty, you expect the facts, you expect the truth. But then you see something like that and you see normal everyday people just cruising along behind the newscaster. It's like, well, why are you doing this?
So where then do we draw the line between entertainment and news reporting?
I think news reporting should be generally about facts that's happening in everyday life that involve common people. Entertainment is when you're given a script that has no basis on anyone or anything.
So let's talk about Donald Trump, because he's been in the news pretty much since day one of him even running for president. Do you believe that in at least this circumstance, because I would say he's probably, if you agree, one of the most televised presidents that we've had. He makes the news quite a bit. I mean, every day, if there's not a news story on about something that he did, it's shocking. So do you think that everything that is reported, do you think that that is necessarily all news, or do you think that some of it's done for entertainment value? And not just with him either. I mean, let's go back to President Obama, when there were some things that came out, and I would say different news organizations definitely have bias. Depending on which side you believe, you have to say that at least both sides of the news, there are two sides.
Well, I mean, going off of that, there is like public record of which news organization is radically left, radically right. So depending on that news organization, obviously they're going to portray every president in a different light. So you can't really say that all news or all coverage of Trump is either entertainment or not, because the extreme right-wing news organization will promote everything good about him, everything that will help him in the future. But extreme left will do everything bad in their power to make him look bad. But I hate the man, so.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it, at least in my opinion, once again, is that people want to see, if, like you said, you hate him, you want to see every bad thing about him that he does, because and even if I loved Donald Trump, which I won't say if I do or not, but if I did, I would want to see the positive things. I mean, I think just inherently that's how we are as people.
Yeah.
So how do you as a news organization, which I know you don't really have much experience being in a news organization other than ECTV, of course. How do you think you handle that? You know, when you have a side of people that expects one thing, how do you handle how do you not be biased towards what your audience wants to see? Because that's part of what you learn as in going through college and through everything. You want to give the people what they want. So what do you think is the best way to address that, I guess?
I mean, I'm comfortable with my opinion of him, and I have my personal beliefs to back up why I don't like him and certain things he's done. But to eliminate that bias, because I do have friends, acquaintances that I know that support him and like him, and I still sometimes interact with those people, but I can't let his whole self get in the way of our friendship, so I kind of put it on basically the back burner, and I'm like, okay, this person believes this, this, and this. I can't tell them what to believe. I can only deal with the facts. And there are some news organizations that deal solely in facts that have no bias, and it's just like you got to look for that.
Is one that I think of.
Yeah. You have to look for that, and if you yourself are having a story where you feel so strongly, you have to tone it down, get all the facts you can that you know are true, and you can't put your opinion in it. That's like the biggest thing. I have a problem with that, but if you really want to make it in a news organization or writing for any political journals or journals in general, you can't have an opinion unless it's called for. Even then, you have to be very careful because you know that so many people are going to end up reading this. So many people are going to have so many feelings, and it's going to vary. And no matter what you write, though, there's always going to be someone that hates it or does not agree with you. But the best thing you can do work-wise and news television-wise is keep your opinion on lock and not do anything to incite an opinion.
Do you think that at any point it comes into it where you may be a journalist and you may have an opinion, do you think we can control whether or not that opinion leaks into our work? So if you're told to write a story about Donald Trump and you hate him, do you think that you can be unbiased, or do you think that inherently there's going to be some fact that you read or some fact that you see that's going to automatically make its way into the thing because of your opinion?
I mean, for me, it depends on the subject matter. For example, if it's the whole like sexual assault thing, my opinion would seep through in my words because I feel strongly about that, and that's something that should not have an illegitimate opinion because it's wrong and it shouldn't be done. So something like that is a give or take, because more people will agree that yes, it's a bad thing, you shouldn't be doing this, it shouldn't happen, so that opinion is more favorable. But if it's something like tax reform, it's all about your level of caring. So if it's like tax reform versus immigration, tax reform for me will have an unbiased opinion because I don't care. And a lot of other people do, and they want facts. But if it's immigration, I care a little bit more, but these people depend on the facts.
So I guess then it also goes to, I think that was a good point, if you're talking about your own personal bias leaking into the different stories, how do you think journalists taking lessons, because I know I've taken journalism classes here at Elizabethtown, and you basically learn not to be biased at all. How do you think like the journalists that are working mainstream media, how do you think that they don't, the ones that are, like you said, the ones that are doing it somewhat for entertainment, how do you think they can keep that from happening? How do you think they can reflect on what they learned either as they were going through school or throughout their experiences? What do you think is the best way to keep that bias out of things?
I mean, for me, whenever I have to do something for like Johnson or whoever, I will run it through a couple different people to be like, hey, does my voice sound a little too opinionated here? And if it is, can you tell me where? And I think even in the job place that there are people like editors and like people who go over your grammar, your facts, fact checkers that will stop it from happening. So I just think it takes revision after revision, and then you surely but slowly learn, okay, I can't use this wording, I can't do this, even though this makes my blood boil, I need to write it in a diary and lock it away and then just shoo on my way.
So do you think that So say you work for, as you said earlier, the far right or the far left news organization. Do you think that those organizations have those people that are? Because I think anytime you turn on the news, you're going to see something biased. But whether or not it's clearly biased, I would say that at one point during a 24-hour news broadcast, you'll see something that at least leans a little one way or leans the other way. So do you think like having editors or having people that maybe believe the other side, maybe be somebody that you have in your organization? Because even though it's supposed to be unbiased, it's inherently bias exists because we're human.
Yeah.
So how do you think do you think that having, like I said, having an editor that might believe the other side or lean one way, do you think that would be a way to do it? Or do you think
I think that, yeah, that would help combat your opinion. Let's say you're far left and your editor is far right. Mm-hmm. They would take away your opinionated things because they would believe more so in the facts that favor them. And depending on the story, that's what you want to put forth. But like in like this type of setting, let's say we were doing a news story on Trump. Mm-hmm. It would be better if I was far left and you were far right, because that would delve into some type of critical conversation about a certain law or bill or action he's taken, because mm-hmm. you won't believe my beliefs and therefore we won't have any kind of major fight difference.
Well, I appreciate talking. Yeah. That was an interesting conversation. I don't know if we came up with a solution because I don't know if there was one.
There can't be.
But I do think this is one of the most important things, is just having this conversation, talking about what can we do to make things better, I guess, as far as news goes. So thanks for coming on. I hope everyone that watched this enjoyed our conversation. I know I did, and we'll have somebody back next week to maybe talk about politics, maybe talk about something else. So thanks a lot.